Okay.
Are we officially starting, or is this
Yeah,
just a
this is
test?
it. This is it.
Well, maybe we should tell Nam to be ready for
No,
when we
because
get
we
there.
can
Oh,
cut.
because
We
we're the
can.
cut. Yeah, that's true. All right.
All right, we're starting now. This is the official start of our new show. Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Dan,
And I'm Eric.
and we both work for Bling. I'm co-founder and head of product and development at Bling. And Eric.
I have just a bunch of different titles. I do pretty much anything from marketing to PR to social media to assisting Dan, assisting
I
our
I
CEO.
tell Eric his title is head of special projects because I think that's a power title for him. So anyway, we're starting a new show today, and this is the first time we've done a show at Bling, but we wanted to do something to connect more with our audience, get to know our users, and let them know what's going on at Bling and what we're thinking. So that's kind of, I've been at Bling since the beginning. I co-founded it along with Amy, the CEO, and there's a lot of our story that you haven't heard yet. So we wanted to do a weekly show where we could talk about that, and that's what we're kicking off here. So the first thing I wanted to bring up is something that Eric has helped with today, getting this adjusted. And actually, Amy put this together, but it's a review wall where we put only 5-star reviews. I want to mention, if you post a 4-star review or a 3 or a 2 or a 1, we're not going to show it up here. But if you post a 5 and it is funny, share it with us on social media because we'll go ahead and put it up here if we think it's worthy. And some of these are really great. So if you see yours up here too, reach out because we don't have any way to connect with the people up here and say, we love your review. So that's kind of the first thing we wanted to share, what's going on at Bling, because that's something new we're doing. And I think this is going to get prettier over time, but we wanted to get it going.
Yeah.
And then second, so let me run through actually like the topics that we wanted to cover today on our first show. The first one is the most common question that we get from users over the years is about low points and how Bling points work. And so we were actually going to spend some time talking about that. Like I said, I'm head of product and development at Bling. I wrote a lot of the code on the platform that exists today. So I know a lot about how all of that works. The second thing we're going to talk about is the difference between a Bitcoin, a Satoshi, and a Bling point and how those relate to each other. We also have a crypto topic of the week. This week, we were just going to talk about what exactly happened at FTX. And then there's going to be a giveaway word of the week. So if you're watching this and you want to try to skip ahead to find the giveaway word of the week, it's going to be after the crypto topic of the week. So I don't know if that's a hint we'll give every time, but there will be a giveaway following this. So watch your social media and make sure you know what the giveaway word is. And then we're actually going to have a special segment to talk to the lead developer from Ethereum Blast, which is our most recent. And I think, as I like to say every time a new game comes out of Bling, I think it's the best game we've ever made. So we're going to have Nam here to talk about some of the work that went into Ethereum Blast. And I don't know if the fans out there noticed, but in a recent, not so recent, I mean, end of last year update we added a lot of content to the game. We also added this new character to the game, which was something we wanted to get in for launch, but we didn't. So Nam will be here to talk about some of that, the work that's gone into it. And then we're going to have a gaming segment just to talk about what's happening in the gaming industry, what we're interested in right now personally at Bling. And so that's what we're planning to cover today. Okay, so time to do a little bit of whiteboarding. The key question that I think people always ask on the Bling platform is, why am I getting the amount of points I'm getting? How does that work? And so for us, there is an actual logical way that our platform works. And so this is meant to be a chance to just explain that. Some people complain they wish they got more points than they got. And I can explain how our platform works to show you that essentially we're not trying to rip you off. We're trying to do what makes sense for the company and for you. So first of all, let's talk about just quickly, like, I'll have to do that bigger, I think. How Bling works. And it's very, very simple. and I think a lot of you already probably understand how it works, but basically, our app is sponsored purely by ads. So, like, you have the app here on the phone. We do not mine Bitcoin on your phone. All we do is push ads onto the phone. And we do that because a lot of our users don't want to spend money acquiring Bitcoin. So, what can we do to earn them some Bitcoin? Well, we can show them ads. We show them ads. We get US dollars out of that. So, that's what the ad networks pay us for showing ads. And then we take some of that. We have different expenses, like we got to pay our staff. We have to pay for our office that we're in right now. We have all these different expenses. And then we also take some of our money and we pay it back to users. So I think the key thing that I want to first of all point out is that we're just like a normal games company. You look at someone like King making Candy Crush. A lot of them don't pay anything back to their users. So why is it that we don't pay more back to our users? First of all, because better pen. I'll switch to a better blue. Are you able to see this at all? Okay, you guys can see it good. Well, I think number one, we pay some of our money back to our users. If you look at someone like King or any other mobile game company pretty much out there, they don't do this. But we have all the same expenses that they have. We have to pay our office staff. We have to pay for all the people developing the office itself. We have snacks at the office we have to pay for. You know, we're in California. Rent's not cheap around here. So that's kind of what we spend money on. So when people say, oh, I wish you gave us more points, we also reward every single player that comes on our platform pretty much with points. So the challenge there is that we have to come up with this extra money that other companies don't even come up with. And we still have to develop video games on top of that. So the core thing for us is we're not mining on your phone. We're actually showing ads. We're getting dollars from that. And then we're trying to convert that into Bitcoin or other crypto and give it back to you after you cash out your reward points. So Bling points on the platform, yes, like you don't necessarily earn all that much on our platform. We're not going to make anyone rich by giving them a few Bling points. It's meant to be a way for you to get a little bit of crypto and just enjoy your time playing games. That's essentially our model. And so the big thing that people always say to us is, well, I know you're making a lot off those ads and you're hardly giving me anything. Not true. So how did the ad networks work? They actually work by giving a different amount based on who the user is. And that's not something that we control. That's something that they control. So if there's, one person, they might say, oh, we're going to give this amount for this person to show them an ad. Here's another person. This person is maybe in a different country. This person, I don't know, doesn't buy that much stuff on their phone. They know from the past. We don't even know necessarily the reason why. Excuse me. All we know is that some of our users, advertisers will pay a lot to show an ad to, and other ones they'll pay less. And that in the end relates to how the earning works on our platform indirectly. And so there's all these factors that we look at because we're trying to make sure that we don't pay out players more than we're making. Obviously, we don't want to go broke. We want to stay in business. So that's kind of how the platform works overall. And that's why when people say, I wish you could pay me more, I could say that honestly, at the state of the company as it is today, we cannot afford to pay you more than we already pay you. We have a pretty good system for calculating what we should pay players. And I can tell you that no one here has gotten rich. So that's kind of how we do it. But we're just trying to make sure we can keep the lights on and keep building cool stuff for you guys. So that's how it works. Okay, we're back and we're talking about the crypto topic of the week, which is, Eric and I actually went on to CoinDesk and we're like, what are people talking about in crypto? And the top two stories were both about Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. And I was a little disappointed, to be honest, because I feel like that's been the top story in crypto for what, 2 months now? Longer?
Yeah.
Long time. But it's still what people are talking about. So we thought, let's do a talk about that. We can get it out of the way. We can talk about something else cool next week. Okay. So what do you know about FTX, Eric?
So I have, just a very standard understanding. From my understanding, FTX was like this big, crypto company. Binance had invested, well, Binance had a lot of investments in FTX. FTX kind of was using other people's funds to just fund all kinds of lifestyle stuff, and and then ultimately Binance pulled their money out, which caused FTX to kind of crash, which caused crypto market to crash because FTX didn't have the funds to not only give people, Binance their money, but also the people that also pulled out because of Binance, because Binance has like a good reputation in the crypto community.
So I think there's some really, really juicy details that are like right under the surface with FTX that people talked about a little bit, but really it's not what people have been focused on. And the number one thing for me is what started all this? Like, where did everything kick off? And it really goes back to the UST Terra Luna crash that happened mid-year, which is when the stablecoin, algorithmic stablecoin UST ended up like just crashing all of a sudden. And it turns out that Alameda, which is FTX's private equity arm, lost a whole bunch of money in that crash, indirectly and directly. They had loaned money out to Three Arrows Capital that had put that money into UST. Terra Luna UST was actually giving some crazy interest rate, like 20% or something. And so a lot of people in crypto had gone and put their money in there to stake it to earn that 20%. And when UST crashed, they lost all their money. And so Alameda had big losses from that. And at that point, they had to decide, are we going to come out and say we have these losses, or are we going to dip into customer funds to recover, or are we going to do some other crazy arrangement? And the other really juicy thing that happened is somebody leaked the balance sheet of Alameda after that happened. I still wonder who did that. We never really got that story of how that got out there, but somebody, maybe someone inside of Alameda, said this is not right. We need to show people what's really going on. And when the balance sheet was leaked, it was clear that the emperor has no clothes. Basically, they didn't really have any money. They didn't have the money. They weren't as rich as they said they were. They had a whole bunch of these FTT tokens, which was an internal token from FTX. And so the other person who had a lot of FTT tokens was the CEO. Well, Binance had a lot of them because they had invested originally in FTX and had gotten the money when they got bought out of their FTX investment. And so CZ, the CEO of Binance, came out and said, "Look, we're gonna sell all of our FTT token because I've seen the balance sheet of Alameda and it freaks me out." And before he could get to the bank basically and sell his FTT tokens, everyone saw his message saying he was going to sell, and they started selling, and the price crashed. And I think CZ said that they didn't even get to sell everything they wanted to sell because the price crashed before they could. So it's almost one of those like yelling fire in a building thing caused it to go down, although it shouldn't have been possible to crash it by having a sell-off because they should have had it backed. They claimed it was backed in a way that it shouldn't have occurred, but it turns out that it, FTX wasn't solvent, Alameda wasn't really solvent, and all that money was just gone. It turns out a lot of it seems like it was customer funds. I think, obviously now the burning question on everyone's mind is who was pulling the strings internally and making these horrible decisions. And Sam Bankman-Fried obviously has come out and said it wasn't him. He wasn't aware of certain things that were happening. He, accidentally mistook a $10 billion account for something. It was mislabeled, which I find is hard to believe. Even if you're Elon Musk wealth, I feel like where all your $10 billion piles are, and you're not getting two of them confused, even if you have that kind of money, because that's a lot of money for anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe not for a Saudi prince. I don't know. That's the only, supposedly they're richer than Elon Musk, but anyway, so it's just it's such a big mess, and I think we don't know all the stones that'll fall yet from, the Celsiuses and other companies that got tangled in this UST mess, and then some of them again got tangled in the FTX mess, like BlockFi that FTX bailed out and then pulled the customer funds in. So I think the burning question on everyone's mind is SBF going to see any jail time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it has to be made an example of, because there's just so many, just like in celebrity news and all that stuff. People are made an example of, like, Todd Chrisley just got 12 years in jail, for his tax evasion stuff. So it's kind of like you kind of have to make an example out of the person who's kind of like the number one, despite him saying that he didn't have anything to do with it, but or that he didn't know what he was doing. But I mean, when you're dealing with that kinds of money, and you know what you're doing.
And I think, one of the vindicating things for us at Bling is, and, we've started around the same time FTX did. And I was always blown away at how fast they grew. And I thought, how are they able to scale that fast and cover all these bases and do everything they're doing? And it turns out they were doing it by cutting corners and misappropriating funds and breaking a lot of laws. So we don't do that. So that's why it takes us longer to do things. And I think a lot of other companies in crypto felt the same. I know Brian Armstrong from Coinbase came out and said, I saw the way they were spending and it didn't really add up to me. But, SBF had said he made billions of dollars trading crypto before he started FTX. So we just kind of believe that story of this genius billionaire guy. And in retrospect, it was kind of absurd. He claimed that he made all this money doing arbitrage between Japan and the United States and Bitcoin. But I was in crypto at that time and there was arbitrage opportunity, but I just had such a hard time believing that someone could have cleared any meaningful, huge amount of money, like in the billions or even hundreds of millions, doing that, because it was a well-known fact that when there was arbitrage opportunities, and I don't know what SPF's advantage would have been there that would have allowed him to get those kind of returns. There has been rumors that there was no such returns that existed, and that was just a cover story. So I don't know. I guess hopefully the truth comes out. I think that would be the worst outcome if he doesn't go to jail and the full truth never comes out. It's like a kind of an Epstein scenario where you don't really know. I mean, I'm not wishing death upon anybody, but just the whole, I think we all want to know the truth and we want justice, because a lot of crypto people lost money in FTX. And it's a sad thing. Even if some of the funds are recovered, it could be years and years before people get their money back out of that.
And it definitely causes like a full dark cloud over the entire industry, So it's kind of like you need some clarity out of it in order to be able to move past it. Because if not, it's always just going to cast like a weird shadow over it.
Yeah, and that's the other really scary outcome, is if it creates a scenario where government regulators say, see, all of this crypto thing, it's all bad actors and we should regulate it to death to make sure that we should strangle it or we should make it illegal because look at how many people are losing money in it. If that happens, then it affects everyone. It affects the Coinbases of the world. It affects the Blings of the world. And I think, we have to, as a world, we have to figure out how we regulate crypto in an effective way. And there's many different views on that, but I would hate for something to be an overreaction based on the bad actors that are in the crypto community. So yeah. All right, on to our next topic, which is the giveaway word of the week. So I'm going to telegraph this week because it is the first week we're doing this. And basically the concept is we're going to have a giveaway. You need to watch our social because we're going to post a form to fill out. And it's going to need two things: the email you use to log into your Bling account and the secret word of the week. And the secret word of the week, because it's the first week, is just Bling. And don't go posting it in the comments so that other people know what that word is. You're just going to hurt yourself because there's only one winner. And if you don't know what the secret word is, your entry is going to be invalid. So again, the form will be posted on our social and it's only going to ask two things: what's the secret word and what is the email address you use to log into Bling? Because the contest will be Bling points as a reward.
And it'll be weekly, so tune in weekly to hear the word and to kind of hear what it is we're talking about during that week. And always feel free to post in the comments what you want to hear us talk about. We're going to have rotating guests. I'll be rotating out, and then there will be other Bling employees on here, so you'll get to meet everybody on the team at some point. And yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, I would say we want to do giveaways each time with this, but we may not telegraph it as hard next time. So just keep that in mind. All right, so what we have coming up next is that Nam is going to be coming on to talk about Ethereum Blast, and he's the lead developer on Ethereum Blast. So, be back in a minute. Is it recording?
Yes.
Is the sound working?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So I'm here with Nam. He was a lead developer on Ethereum Blast, and he is the lead developer on Ethereum Blast, but it's not a game that we're currently developing further, so it's kind of a past tense thing now. But it is still our most recent title, and it seemed fitting for our first show to just talk about Ethereum Blast a little bit, what went into it. And I think there was also a lot that changed about the game after we launched it. So, and I was saying before you came in that, like all of our games, when it launched, I really feel that it's the best game we've ever made, you know. And I think we also feel that we put more work into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Than we have other games. So, I think my first question would be like, maybe just share a little bit about how much time you worked on the game, like what the the timeline was, and how kind of the process of how we got Ethereum Blast out the door.
Yeah, so Ethereum Blast was a lot of hard work. I think I remember we started with Ethereum Blast back in like March or something, and then we put on February, and we put on hold for a little bit, and then when we finally got back to working on it, there's a lot that went into it, a lot of artwork from Breno's side, a lot of like upgrades we had to do to the game, a lot of game mechanics that we added. We improved the power-ups. A lot of work went into the levels as well. Before the game was launched, we worked on, or I added maybe a few hundred levels to the game, getting it to be more fun. And
so I think a couple things to point out for our viewers is the way we kind of built the games that we have. A lot of people may not know this, but we start from a base engine that we get off the shelf. So, and actually, you may not be aware, but pretty much all puzzle games are in that format now. So even if they're from, Matchington Mansion, Homescapes, or something, there's typically parts of that game that they are using off the shelf from some code that they already had developed or got from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so the path that we took with Ethereum Blast was that we actually were basing it on a new engine that we hadn't used before, that we did not build completely. And we build our games in Unity. So all the games are built with the Unity engine, and Nam's Unity developer. And so with Ethereum Blast, we started from what was already a working game, but it didn't look anything like Ethereum Blast. It was really clunky in a lot of ways, and it didn't have any, obviously, like Bling points earnings or anything like that. So, like, going back to what Nam was saying, I think Breno, our designer, actually does all the 2D asset art that the company produces. And so every single pixel on the screen was redesigned from the engine that we had by Breno. And then how do you get assets into the game from Breno? Like, if say he draws a cool cube that needs to be in the game, like, what's the process for you?
The process generally is you import the PNG or whatever image that he gives you. You convert it into a sprite, and then from there you can turn it into like an animation, depending on what game object you want it to be. For Ethereum Blast specifically, they used a lot of serialized objects where you would have to set up these serialized objects with the images that it would pull from these localized objects, and then it would be instanced into the game. And then yeah, so and then Ethereum Blast, it had a lot of these serialized objects where can we cut this part? I should have prepared.
We're assuming no cuts, Nam. This is staying in.
This is staying in. Sheesh. Okay. Yeah. Not going into too much depth.
Wow. So anyway, I think As far as like, I think one area that I'm interested in with Ethereum Blast is we did more particle animations than we've ever done before, and I like there's bigger explosions, and this is something that I give all the time to the team. Is like I have yet to see an explosion that is big enough. Like that's a core thing that we're always talking about. So Ethereum Blast has the biggest explosions, but that seems like even if Breno, our designer, helps with that, it seems like you have to like go in and manually make changes, right?
Yeah, so all the animations are made by me. Breno gives me the sprites that are required, and then I make the particle effects that are required to in explosions and stuff like that, and then implementing it into the game to spawn them whenever needed.
And when Breno gives you assets, like art assets, do they always work?
Um, Sometimes, not always. It's most of the time.
Do we ever have to like redo them or anything? I'm just curious.
I mean, sometimes he gives them in the wrong pixel.
Or like, do we ever look at them and go, "Oh, that doesn't actually look good" after we get it in the game? Like, or is it like a one and done? Oh, okay.
Mostly, it's Breno saying, "Oh, I don't like that. Let's change it." So
yeah. There you go. Yeah. So Breno's a perfectionist. He's looking at me right now through the glass. He's like, "Are you talking about me?" He's a perfectionist, so we tend to do a lot of art revisions to get it right. What was the hardest thing for you on Ethereum Blast? Like the hardest development piece? I'm kind of curious. Was there anything in particular that stands out in your mind that was difficult?
I think getting all the power ups to work correctly with how we wanted it to was probably the hardest part. The most tedious part would probably be the level creation. That took the most time, but yeah, other than that, it wasn't too bad.
We went through this time period in the company where we were all trying to make sure that we had tested every level that Nam built for the game, and it went on, I would say, for like maybe a couple weeks because we played the
almost a
levels.
month, actually.
Yeah, we played the levels, and then some of them were like way too hard, and so then he had to go modify them. And then we also found like some weird bugs while we were testing certain levels, and so then he had to fix those, and then that ended up affecting some of the levels. Then we had to test them again, and eventually we got this out. So let's talk about the main character of the game, because that was something that we got really finalized after the game got done. So can you talk a little bit about the character that is yet named? Because we've never named her actually, but something we want to do in the future.
So yeah, a lot of work went into that character. She was obviously the first 3D character we had in a game, so setting that up was pretty fun. With the help of one of our 3D teams, we added her to the game. I had to set up physics for her hair and everything. It was a pretty complicated procedure, but it was fun to learn. And getting her into the game and optimizing everything was quite a bit of work, but it was definitely worth it. She definitely makes the game brighter.
So when we first got this character into the game, we were trying to do it as an update, and the game was crashing on a lot of our test devices because it was using too much RAM on the phones. And we had to go back into a whole optimization cycle to try to get the game to a place where it would run well. And then put a ton of work into that. So I just want to thank you for coming by to talk about Ethereum Blast, and hopefully in the future you'll be back to talking about something new that we may be working on.
Excited.
Yeah. But it's been great, and I think, like I said, I really appreciate the work you done on Ethereum Blast because I consider it to be our best game right now, and also it's our first Ethereum game that we've done, which was kind of a unique undertaking for us, and try to envision like how do we feel about Ethereum. So we went that very spacey vibe, and I think it paid off for us. So thank you for coming on.
Yep, no problem.
So the next segment is Eric's going to be coming back in a minute, and we're going to be talking about the closing gaming segment that we haven't covered yet. Back in. All right, we're back here with Eric again.
Yes, I'm back.
And we are talking about the gaming segment of the week. What are you playing right now? I think that's the core question.
Yeah. So, I just recently got a PS5. I finally got my hands on it after, years of waiting. I was one of the unlucky people that just never got picked. I was never fast enough. And I finally in November of last year, I finally got my PS5, and then so I've been playing just a bunch of different games. I finally got to play Stray, which is a really fun game. It's basically you're playing as a cat, and as a cat person.
How far in are you on the game?
I've only played it like 2 hours, 3 hours, but it's just like I don't know. It has that style of like gameplay it's just really simple. It's simple. It's like kind of what it reminds me of a little bit of Spider-Man, kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're
So
outside, jumping from building to building, stuff like that.
Things like that. Yep.
My daughter's super into cats, so like I showed it to her, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you want to get this?" And I was gonna buy it for her over the holidays if she showed a huge interest, and she's like,
because it's
think
kind
I'll
of
go back to
stylized though,
Roblox.
because it's stylized, so it definitely doesn't feel like a kid's game. So it's like stylized, maybe it's not as appealing to kids.
That might have been why.
Yeah. So because it's dark and everything, so it's fun. But
Does the cat fight, or is the cat just like no fighting?
No fighting.
Interesting.
Just leaping and
Okay.
Yeah.
It's agility.
Yeah, agility. It's an agility game, exactly. And then so I've been playing a bunch of other games, but I'm excited for next week when Hogwarts Legacy finally comes out. As a Harry Potter fan, you're a Harry Potter fan as well.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Fandom in general is an interesting.
We were actually talking about this about Star Wars recently too. Is like there's I'm a fan of Harry Potter. I've seen the movies, and then there's people who are fans.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric, in the case of Harry Potter, he's a real fan.
Yeah.
So it's always scary saying you're a fan of something. I do love Harry Potter, but I don't think I love it like you love it.
Yeah, I mean, I've read all the books, I've watched the movies, I will watch them multiple times, I've read the books multiple times.
How many times have you been to Universal Studios?
That's the one. I've only been to Universal Studios like 2 or 3 times. Once I almost got pulled off the ride, so
oh wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's why I've never gone back. No, I'm just kidding. No, but definitely, it's but when I do go into Universal, like it's just kind of like just being immersed in that, in Harry Potter, everything, like it's a fun time, and it's always and I think like again, like fandom is always fun because like you're part of like the Star Wars fandom and all that stuff. Like it's just like you feel like a sense of community, like when people like kind of the same things that you like. Of course, there's different levels and there's different groups and there's different it's like everything is segmented, but it's always nice being like kind of around the people that like the same things that you like. So it's
Star Wars as a comparison is just like super hard to really feel like you're a part of it unless you're like crazy into it, because there's all these books and stuff that are outside of the movies. So like when The Mandalorian was coming out, I think there were people who already kind of knew some of that story from books or something.
Yeah.
And so you have to go so far beyond just like being in. I've seen all the Star Wars movies, like literally all of them, including the ones that people are like, don't see that Han Solo movie or whatever. I watched all of them and multiple times, most of them. And I love it, but I don't read like the books. I don't know which ones are considered to be actually part of the story and which ones are like, no, that's not a real Star Wars book, because there's people who write fantasy ones on the fringe and stuff like that. So I feel like there's just so many degrees of fans.
Yeah.
But what are you excited about for the Hogwarts Legacy game?
To me, it's because I mean, I haven't had a solid Harry Potter game in a long time since the Sorcerer's Stone. For me, the original like PC game, and this was like when the first movie came out. There was a PC game that it was so awesome. It was like anybody who's played it like will tell you that was like the best. Like first of all, the best Harry Potter game that's been released thus far. Hopefully until Hogwarts Legacy. But just also in general, it was just kind of like ahead of its time. And then so that's kind of what I expect from Hogwarts Legacy, and just kind of it being an open world thing is kind of cool. But I mean, I would have liked there to be like a multiplayer option where you can like play Quidditch with your friends or something. But
so the fear for me, I think, is always like when there's IP based games that are based on like Marvel or some like movie series.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like the developer kind of like rides on that instead of actually making a good game.
Yeah.
A lot of, because they like, if you're making a game and you don't have a franchise to ride on, like a Harry Potter, like you can make a shitty Harry Potter game and still get a lot of people to play it
Yeah.
because it's Harry Potter. So like how much effort are you going to put into it?
But I mean, this game, like it had leaks like back in 20 like what 19 or something. There was like solid leaks. So this game's been in development for a long time. So I think like the fact that it took forever to come out. At first, I was mad because it's leaked in 2019 or 2018, something like that. So people expected it within the next 2 years. It's been what, like 5 years since then. And then so I mean, like I feel like a lot of effort went into the game. The game's very expensive.
How much is it?
It's $70
Oh
for
my.
the extended version. I mean, the deluxe version.
I know with PS5, I'm always like, when did the games become this expensive?
Yeah.
I want some of those NES prices from the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's expensive. So I expect it to be, really good. And then I will give you guys my honest review. Once I play it, I'll give you an honest review because it's like, I've been waiting for this game for a long time. So I want to see if it lives up to the hype. But I think it'll be good.
I do think like building a model of a world that like I think the one thing I feel about Harry Potter is that you end a movie and you're like, I want to spend more time in that world. I just want to be there.
Yeah.
Like it seems so cool. And so when you go to Universal Studios and you go into the Harry Potter world and you actually feel you're there, they did such a great job on just making it everything look good. You look at the like the castle. What's it called?
The which castle? Hogwarts?
Yeah, Hogwarts. There you go. Like I was like, it's not what it's called.
Castle?
See, this is what I mean. Yeah, I'm exposing myself right now.
I was like,
I was like, yeah. So I feel like it looks so realistic, and you're like, I'm here. I've always wanted to be here. So I feel like the game is another opportunity to be like, I want to be at Hogwarts, and
it gives you control too. Like you'll be able to have your wand out and you'll be able to do your spells. So I think like that's what's different about it. Like it's just you're gonna feel like even more immersed in it, and then it's just
oh wow,
yeah.
Well,
So
you're
imagine
going
you're doing your
dangerously
spells.
close to my other favorite topic, which is Harry Potter is not good at spells compared to. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like
He
how
could've been dead, like,
how did he kill Voldemort when he's like so not on his level whatsoever?
Well, yeah.
I have
knows he's
I
not
have
the
so
real
many
hero.
questions.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone knows he's not the real hero.
Who's the real hero?
Hermione.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, like okay,
Or
so
Voldemort.
he's the real hero.
He's the real hero.
Right on. So that's so Hogwarts is the game that we were going to talk about this week because it's coming out next week, and yeah, just wanted to tell everyone too. It's like we're all gamers here. A lot of us are not necessarily mobile gamers as much too. So we make mobile games, but we have a lot of League of Legends players in the office. We have a lot of Valorant players in the office, and console gamers. I have a PS5. Eric has a PS5. I also have an Xbox Series X that I haven't played very much at all because I've been focused on the PS5. But overall, we love games, and so we're always interested in like what's going on out there so that we can try to bring elements into what we're doing. And I know that seems like a stretch from what we do today, but we've got a lot of stuff in the works that we're doing that's deeper, and we want to go deeper as a company into our gaming and make more immersive experiences. So that's pretty much it for this week's show. And I just want to say like and subscribe if you enjoy watching. We are going to try to do this regularly so you can get to know more about Bling. And yeah, play our games. If you have if anything comes up that you would like us to talk about next time, put it in the comments so we will read the comments and we'll figure out if there's something worth doing there. So
yeah. So yeah, remember like and subscribe, and follow us on all our social medias. You'll see clips, you'll see all kinds of behind the scenes stuff just here in the office, and just kind of sneak peeks of what we're working on and everything. So lots of exciting stuff coming. So just stay tuned.
Thank you.